Good evening, everyone. It's Water Wednesday, September 23rd. Thanks for joining. Tonight, we've got a few things we're going to talk about, and it's going to be pertinent to the upcoming election. I typically show a block of content. I'm going to do that again tonight, but it's going to pertain to voting. I'm going to talk a little bit about the race and about my candidacy, and I will happily take questions. If there are no questions, we will end the broadcast. I try to keep these between 30 and 45 minutes because a lot of people are having Zoom fatigue at this point in the quarantine. I know that I am, and so let's just get started. It's been a tough week, so there are a few things that we'll talk about first, and thanks for joining. I'm going to share my screen. Give me a moment. Hold on a second. Okay, let me try again. Sorry, it's always just a little bit clunky, me clicking through, trying to do it. There we go. Okay. Everything's a little bit slow tonight. There we go. So tonight's Wednesday, Water Wednesday, we're going to be talking about voting. We're going to be talking about some information from the San Diego Registrar of Voters. And we've got a couple of things that I'd like to cover first. So I'm going to start out with a land acknowledgement that I've incorporated as part of my broadcast for the last several weeks. It's interesting, one of my opponents has criticized me for this, which I think is sort of strange. But I'm going to acknowledge the land that we are on. I feel like this is a way to ground us and center us to pay attention to where we are, to think about water differently, to think about the land differently, and inextricable from that is thinking about the people that came before us as colonizers on this land. So I'll read this land acknowledgement first. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory and homelands of the Vallecitos Water people. Cal State University San Marcos and surrounding areas are still home to the 6 federally recognized bands of the La Jolla, Pala, Palma, Pachanga, Rincon, Sobobo, Vallecitos, and Payam people. It is important to acknowledge that this land remains the shared space among the Kupanga-Wisham, Kupeño, Kumeyaay, and Ipe peoples. We acknowledge that we are guests on traditional, unceded Vallecitos Payam land. So a lot has happened this week in the news that's just in the news and in our community. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge and say the name Breonna Taylor. There are protests going on in a lot of places tonight because justice has not been served for this woman. I'd also like to take a moment and acknowledge the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And one of the things that she said that she's said many things, but one of the things that she said that has stuck with me is that women belong in places where decisions are being made. It shouldn't be that women are the exception. And I'd like to just marinate on that for a moment. There are many places where women are the exception. And in fact, if I am elected to Vallecitos Water Board Division 5, I will be the only woman serving in that position at that time. There is currently a woman on the board, but she is not running again, so she will not be reelected. Finally, tonight in our community. There's a family that is experiencing a lot of pain. And I just want to express my sympathy, thoughts and prayers for that family. If you or someone you know is struggling right now, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is listed on this slide. Please reach out. So I do have another endorsement that I'd like to announce tonight. It's appropriate because of the quote that I just shared from Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm thrilled to announce that I have now the endorsement of an organization called Run Women Run. It is a San Diego endorsement, or it's a San Diego organization, and I'm really, really happy that I have their endorsement. So, moving on, as I said, this week has been heavy. There's a lot that's happened. And if anything, I think it has made a lot of people realize how important it is to register to vote, pay attention to who is running, and support your local candidates too. It was Tiff O'Neill that said that all politics is local, and that's true. The local races impact your life, and that's a theme that I've been talking about every time that I've done one of these broadcasts. I talk about how the water board, the decisions made by the board of directors at Vallecitos impacts your life every day, every day. If your water is clean, that's something that's impacted by the board. If your water rates are too high or unaffordable, that's something that is impacted by the water board as well. So I'd like for you to think about that. And, you know, I've cited the statistic before, I'll cite it again. In 2012, 23% of people that voted did not vote for water board. In 2016, 27% of people who voted did not vote for water board. Out here in California, we have ballots that are really long, and there's a lot of confusing propositions, and the language is tough to get through, and it's hard to understand. But I'm asking you, stick it out, make it all the way to the bottom of the ballot. Great news this time during COVID is that you're going to be mailed a ballot. You can sit with your ballot in front of your computer. You can look up what people think about the propositions. You can look up the candidates. You can do your research right there with your ballot. That's one benefit to having access to other information while you're trying to complete your ballot. So with me, I'm Dr. Tiffany Boyd-Hodgson. I'm running for Vallecitos Water Board Division 5. My platforms are thus, and I have been talking to a lot of voters this week. Today I dropped at over 300 doors. And, you know, if somebody happens to be outside and, you know, and it doesn't look like they're busy, I try to talk to them just a little bit, you know, socially distanced, of course. You know, we're not knocking doors right now because it's not safe and it puts people in a really uncomfortable position. You going to their door and talking to them. So ordinarily in a campaign, that's what we would be doing right now, but we're not doing that. We're doing literature drops, and occasionally I will talk to somebody. I'll find, you know, somebody will be outside and we'll chat for a few minutes. So a lot of people have said, you know, what's your platform? Well, it's this: affordable, quality, reliable water for you. No developer subsidies, no developer money. I am not taking any developer money. And I do not believe that we as ratepayers should be subsidizing development, which we are right now. 15% of our water bill goes towards subsidizing development. There's actually a consumer complaint filed with the California Attorney General about that right now from an independent group. I have some ideas that are bigger than water, such as trying to partner with schools, our local schools like San Marcos High School, Mission Hills, to build a pipeline so that people who maybe aren't headed straight away to a four-year college or don't plan to go to a four-year college can still train and work in our community. This is a way to build community. It's also a way to stimulate our economy and a way to put people to work, good local jobs. And finally, I am a scientist. I'm a mom of four, and I'm a scientist, and I believe in science, using science to make decisions. Science, not special interests. That's really important to me. I know how to, I understand data. I know how to evaluate data. I know how to think critically. I know how to ask tough questions. So that's what you will be voting for if you vote for me. Finally, are you struggling with your water bill? So the Vallecitos Water District has a program in place where you can call and talk to them about if you are struggling with your water bill due to COVID-19. And you will have to provide documentation, but you can call the number 760-744-0460. Explain to them that you're having trouble. As far as I know, there's only been a handful of people that have been able to take advantage of this, about 48, the last I heard at the last board meeting. But I know that there are over 1,400 delinquent accounts. So that tells me a couple of things. That tells me that people are struggling. And number two, that this information isn't getting out there as widely as it could to help many of those people. It may not be the case that all of those people could be helped with this program, but you don't know until you ask. So I encourage you, please call. Please call if you are struggling, if you are suffering financial hardship. Help may be available. So tonight, we're going to talk about voting. And voting is different this year, obviously, because of COVID-19. But this is a timeline that is taken from the San Diego Registrar of Voters, and it has listed some important dates. And this information, there is a concerted effort from the Registrar of Voters to push out this information. And, you know, I've heard it several times, but I am also in a place where I don't think, you know, just the person who may not be politically oriented or may not know where to go to look, they may not know this information. So that's why I wanted to talk about it tonight, because it impacts us. It impacts us as we move forward to the election. And we're about 6 weeks out now. So we're getting really close. So beginning tomorrow, actually, September 24th, sample ballot and voter information will be dropped into the mail. So this will be your first look at what the ballot is going to look like. So you'll be prepared when you get it. And you can sort of start going through that and doing your research. That is slated to go out tomorrow. October 5th is the first day that you can vote in California, in San Diego County. You can vote at the Registrar of Voters office, which is in downtown San Diego. It's where the county buildings are. You can vote there from 8 to 5. As far as I know, this is you can vote in person at the Registrar of Voters. I believe you can vote in person every day beginning October 5th through November 3rd. You can't vote in person everywhere, though, so I just want to make that clear. But you can start voting at the Registrar of Voters in person beginning October 5th. Also, on October 5th, every registered voter in California will be mailed a ballot. So depending on how your mail runs, you should see your ballot, beginning maybe the 7th or the 8th, something like that. Every registered voter in California will be mailed a ballot. October 6th is when the mail ballot drop-off locations will start. They will be open beginning that day. So my understanding is that when you get your ballot, it will tell you on your ballot where drop-off locations are. It may or may not be the same location you're used to going to, so double check that. You can also go to the Registrar of Voters website, I believe, to check out that as well. October 19th is an important date. That is the last day that you can register to vote. So let's say you've moved recently. I had an event actually it was last week, had an event on my street. We had a new family move into our street, and one of the members of the family came to the event, and it was great because I got to talk to him, and I said, don't forget to register to vote because you've just moved in. And he was grateful. He said, yeah, that slipped my mind. I hadn't thought about doing that. So if you've recently moved, if you have changed your name, please register to vote. The deadline to do that, to vote in this election, is October 19th. And here's something that is different this year that a lot of people are really providing me a lot of positive feedback about. So beginning on Halloween, you can vote in person. It used to be the case that you could vote in person on Election Day, but because of COVID-19, and because so many more people are going to be voting by mail, and people may not be able to get to the polls, and only a few people are going to be let in at a time, you can vote in person at something called a super poll. There are going to be 235 of these set up around the county beginning October 31st. You can vote, you can go October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd, and November 3rd, which is the traditional election day. The polls open from 8 to 5. So where are those super polls? Well, I don't know, but it will say on your ballot. It will also say at the Registrar of Voters website. So it may not be the place that you are used to voting. So let's say you used to vote at your local school. There's a school down the street from where you live, and you would just go down there. Or maybe it's a church or a temple, or some other place that you're used to voting, where you're used to going to vote. Double check, because of COVID-19, my understanding is that the polling places where you go and vote in person, those are being consolidated somewhat. So double check. It should be listed on your ballot. November 3rd, traditional election day. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., so extended hours during that day. You can go vote in person, and just be aware you may have to wait in line. So plan for that. And again, check where your super poll is on your ballot. Now, my understanding is that if you want to mail in your ballot, it has to be postmarked by or on November 3rd. San Diego Registrar of Voters is allowing postmarked ballots that were mailed November 3rd or earlier until November 17th to arrive. So it may not be the case that we have all of the results as close to being tallied on the night of November 3rd as we have in the past, because there are going to be ballots coming in. December 3rd is the deadline by which the election must be certified. So if you don't know the results of all the races on the night of the 3rd, it's because there are some extensions to allow mail-in ballots. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about that. Okay, what else can we talk about this? So I've sat through a few presentations given by Michael Vu, who is the registrar. He runs the Registrar of Voters. He's exceptionally smart, exceptionally organized, and I have every confidence that the election is going to go smoothly. They've been planning this. They've been planning how they were going to run this election in San Diego County for months. And Mr. Vu has been making the rounds in different clubs and different organizations, League of Women Voters, a few of the Democratic Party clubs that I've attended. And he's talked a lot about what they are trying to do to accommodate voting in person and the increased number of mailed-in ballots. So it is the case that a lot of people in California vote by mail already. But and you can see actually from this comparison, for the March election, there were 74% of people sent in their ballot by mail. So 3 out of 4 people already vote by mail. But what they have tried to do is plan for 100% of those people. And that's a conservative estimate because there will be people that still drop off. There will be people that still go to the polls, for whatever reason. They prefer to vote in person, or they have they have a disability or something like that where they need assistance. So the conservative estimate is that they're planning for 100% mail-in ballot. It won't be quite that much, but it'll be a slight uptick from what we saw in the primary. There will be 235 polling places. There will be about 1 for every 8,000 people. And like I already said, they'll be open for 4 days, beginning on Halloween, October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd, and November 3rd. Check your ballot so you can make sure that you know where those are going to be. There will be 124 mail ballot drop-off locations. They will be available for 29 days, again, beginning October 6th. And again, check your ballot so that you can see where to go. Voters will be assigned to a specific place to drop off their ballot and to vote in person. And finally, they are ramping up, trying to have 3,500 people to work at the election, and there is a need for poll workers. So I saw, I believe in this presentation that was given by the Registrar of Voters, that most poll workers are over the age of 65. So a lot of those folks may not be willing to risk their health to work at the polls. So if you are able and interested, contact the Registrar of Voters, go on the website and check out, how to become a poll worker, because there is a need for that. They're needed to make sure that everything goes smoothly. They're needed to make sure, to answer questions if people have questions when they're trying to vote, so that we can make sure every vote counts. Okay, that is the end of the presentation about voting. I just want to reiterate that our campaign is going really well. We're doing a lot of things. We've got a lot of plates that we're spinning, and I have a team of volunteers and a few staff folks that are really working hard to try to get our word out. I mentioned that I did a lit drop at over 300 doors today. I have like 21,000 steps that I recorded today, which is really a lot of exercise. It's a lot of fun, but it sure is hot outside in the afternoon doing that. So if you would like to help, that help is welcome. And you don't have to have ever done that before. You don't have to have any campaign experience at all. And in fact, part of the fun of this for me is talking to young people who may be interested in politics or want to volunteer for a campaign just to see what it's like. That is so fun for me. I have a young woman working on the campaign. She's 17. She's a high school senior, and she's really getting to understand what it looks like from an insider's view. And it's a great opportunity. Whether you have an hour to give, whether you have 10 hours to give, we'll take it. We'll take whatever you want to give. On October 4th, we are doing a non-contact literature day of action. We just had one last week. It was really successful, and so we're going to do it again. And that's where, we'll all meet at a central location, and you'll have the literature, and then you'll go out into the community and you'll do a non-contact literature drop. And I will teach you how to do that so that you feel confident, so that you, so that you are prepared for just about any type of circumstance that you could face while you're doing that. And, we had a lot of folks do it. They're going to come back and do it again. The response was overwhelmingly positive. And so we're going to do that again. Also, if you prefer to write postcards, a lot of volunteers are doing that for me right now, and they like to do that. It's something they can do while they're watching TV or something else. And I will train you. I will give you the postcards. If you can cover the postage, that is welcome, but it's not a deal breaker. I will cover the postage if that's something that, if you just want to write postcards and do that. I have a college student who has written a lot of postcards for me. She said, I can't cover the postage, but I can do 150 postcards. So I was like, that's great. So there is a lot of opportunity to volunteer, and we are in a tough race. We're getting down into the home stretch, and we need help, we need volunteers. We also need money, and I ask for money at the end of this every single time, and I do that for a reason, because we are running a grassroots campaign, and we're not taking corporate money, we're not taking developer money. Most of my donations are $10, $25, $50, and I am grateful. It costs money, though. It costs money to run this broadcast. This is a monthly subscription I have to a platform called StreamYard. It costs, I think, $25.99 a month. So this is one expense. I have yard signs. I have the said postcards and the literature. So it's all part of trying to educate people about water, trying to get them to care about water, trying to get them to care about this particular water election. A lot of people don't know that their board is elected. So we're trying to put our messages out in that way, trying to talk about what I will do on the board, trying to talk about the developer special interests that have permeated the board over the last few election cycles, and how I will get those, the developer money and the developer interests out of the water board. So it takes money, it takes volunteers, it takes money, it takes a team. So if you can help, if you would like to help, please reach out to me. You can contact me through Facebook, through my website, which I have a picture of right up here. You can give to me using this bit.ly link, or you can go to my website and you can click on the donate button. So I think that is all I have tonight. And if you'll just give me one moment, we'll go back and I'll take questions. Let's see if any questions have come up. If not, then we will end the broadcast. It has been a tough week. And, it's hard to not get emotional about all the things that are happening right now, even in our community. And, I think it just really, when we take a minute and we sort of reflect on the humanity of us all, it's hard not to get emotional. And, I'm human, so sometimes I get emotional. So I do have a question. It says, I see that the Vallecitos Water Board is not being honest about our financials. What do you think? I have a lot of thoughts on that. That is, I think we have to be careful about exactly how we talk about this, because yes, there is a complaint filed with the California Attorney General about the developer money that has flowed in to campaign contributions, including the incumbent that I'm running against, and then the favors that have been done to benefit developers by votes made by that incumbent. It's really complicated, and it is, I've talked about it in the past as a full broadcast. I do plan to talk about it again, because I think that it's something that people should know about. So I appreciate that. I think that I'll just leave it at that. I do plan to talk about that again, and I do believe that there are good faith actors that are trying their best at Vallecitos to manage the finances, and I think it's hard to manage those finances. I think there are bad faith actors who are doing things that are not transparent. So I will talk more about that perhaps in another broadcast. Thank you for that question. And if you are interested in that, you can see my broadcast from a few weeks ago. And so any other questions? I'm grateful. There are a handful of people watching tonight. I'm appreciative of that. And, I appreciate that you're there. If you have a question, please ask. There is a question. Looking forward to hearing you at the street and greet on Tuesday, October 6th. Yes. So one thing that I have been doing, because, I've mentioned that we can't really knock doors right now. And ordinarily we would have been knocking doors beginning in June or July and done a first pass through the whole district by September. That's typically the way you run a campaign under sort of usual circumstances. But right now, it's not safe to knock doors. No one is knocking doors. So what I have been doing in conjunction with someone else who's running in the district, her name is Sarah Ahmad. She's running for school board. And she and I, and this was actually her idea, and I think it's brilliant, it was to have socially distanced meet and greets in cul-de-sacs and in public places where it can be like micro-targeted and micro neighborhoods. So people from 3 blocks radius will come. And it's easily manageable because we have 10 to 15 people. We can answer their questions one-on-one. They get one-on-one time with us, and I think that they are really appreciative. No one has left these street and greets and said, "Oh, I'm not voting for you." They all leave and they say, "Okay, you've taught me a lot that I didn't know, and yes, I'm voting for you." So I think it's been really beneficial from that perspective. But it's also a really creative way to get our message out and talk to people. And I'm grateful that Sarah and I have partnered together to do it. It also sort of fits with my platform of wanting to partner with other people in the community on city council and on school boards, and on Palomar Community College Board to figure out a way to stimulate our economy and train our youth so that they can live and work and have good jobs in San Marcos. That is tangential to water, but it's essential for our community. And especially now, we need economic growth, we need economic injections, economic boosts. And the plan that I have for that is ambitious and it's long-term, it's a long-range vision, but it will help our community. It'll help build our community and create local jobs. So yes, so those are the street and greets. If you would like to host one, maybe you live on a cul-de-sac, or maybe you live on a street where there's not a lot of traffic, or maybe you have a long driveway. It's really an easy lift for you. Nobody comes in your house. You don't have to do anything except supply us with a power outlet so that we can run an extension cord. That's it. That's all you have to do. And we take care of the rest. We set up, we clean up. If you want to supply water, bottles of water, that's great. That's up to you. But it's an easy lift, and we are doing it all over the district, and we have been for weeks, and we will continue to do that. And we have one coming up on Tuesday, October 6th in Discovery. So, any other questions? I'm grateful that you came tonight. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you joining with intention, where we talked about Breonna Taylor, where we talked about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And, take a moment after this, or whenever you have some quiet, and just think about those women and reflect. All right. Have a good night. I will see you again next week if I don't see you before then at a street and greet. Take care, be safe, wear a mask, and hug your kids.